Max Verstappen has been on the podium at almost every Formula 1 race he's finished in 2020, but it's a run that's left him with a slightly odd feeling. The Red Bull star's been a clear third best behind the all-conquering Mercedes team and sometimes snuck ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas on their rare off days. But more often than not, he's occupied a lonely place between the top two and the messy battle behind. So when he joins the dominant Mercedes pair on the podium, Verstappen's revealed that he feels like someone who won't leave a couple alone for a nice dinner, and he's left as the third wheel. Make sure you click this button so you don't have your own third wheel feeling when we cozy up to our subscribers by saying things like "I'm Scott Mitchell for the race" and welcome back to all of our lovely subscribers. Without further delay, here's why Verstappen's right to feel out of place in F1 2020. How the underdog lost its bite. There's no shame in only being bested by Mercedes, and Verstappen has been comfortably the only remote challenger to that domination in 2020. But he deserves more than how the season will reflect his performances, even if Bottas' horror show in Turkey opened the door fractionally for Verstappen to steal the runner-up position after all. In reality, that slim hope has been extinguished for quite a while. Red Bull's expectations of a title run proved unfounded pretty quickly when the RB16's deficit to Mercedes W11 became clear at the very first race, after which Verstappen was left playing catch-up in the points while his team scrambled to rescue its season on track. Verstappen's Austrian GP DNF in the season opener cost him a guaranteed podium and potentially a victory, but he at least fought back to remain a season-long thorn in Mercedes' side, especially for Bottas. As Hamilton streaked clear at the head of the points, inflicting a painful and maybe embarrassing defeat on Bottas looked achievable or was at least a realistic target for Verstappen. But then Verstappen lost at least a top 5 finish at Monza because of an engine problem, and 1 week later suffered another engine problem at Mugello, where he was also the innocent victim in a massive wipeout on the opening lap anyway. A few races after that, another second place ahead of Bottas went begging at Imola, where Verstappen suffered a tyre failure. Verstappen was the architect of his own downfall in Turkey, where he spun behind Sergio Perez chasing an opportunistic victory and turned a possible win into 6th. It was a rare example of the downside of Verstappen's all-or-nothing approach that he afforded himself in 2020 with the championship out of sight. But by then, the real damage to his revised targets had already been done anyway, and Verstappen's underdog challenge had lost a substantial amount of bite. The championship Verstappen finished last in. Now, the attentive among you may have noticed a theme among most of Verstappen's DNFs in the form of his botched Italian job. That brings us to his last place finish in a fictional mini-series we've just made up. Verstappen's tyre failure at Imola completed a hat-trick of non-finishes for him at F1's trio of Italian Grand Prix earlier this season. As documented already, his campaign was already well past the point of a DNF wrecking his championship hopes by the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, but if nothing else, it's amusing to note that of his 4 non-finishes, 3 of them have come in Italy. And with an unapologetic little nod to F1's National Series days of old, he duly finishes bottom of the Italian F1 Championship, sponsored by the race. Those DNFs have effectively guaranteed that Verstappen can't eclipse his 2019 season in terms of results, and it meant that the longer the season has gone on, the more futile Verstappen's consistent podium return got. He'd likely feel a lot better about finishing third behind the Mercedes if he was still in any kind of championship fight, even if it was just for second. Instead, Verstappen says the podiums are nice, but leave him feeling like the third wheel we mentioned at the start of this video. Beyond the lost shot at finishing runner-up, at one stage Verstappen also looked like he might surpass his career best points total from last year, despite 4 fewer races taking place. Unfortunately, his disastrous Italian hat-trick put pay to that ambition as well. Sure, Verstappen has still scored enough points this season to keep his team second in the Constructors' Championship on his own, and few will question just how good his year's been, but the fact remains, statistical recognition of the best season of his career has gone begging for reasons out of his control. How much does he care? Verstappen has been Mercedes' irritator-in-chief, pouncing on any weakness and invariably extracting the most from the car. Finishing runner-up in a season utterly dominated by Mercedes would have been a remarkable result and one to be extremely proud of. Verstappen may not really care that he's missing out on that. He's said in the past that if he's not winning, then 2nd, 3rd or 15th makes no real difference, and he won't remember those results when he looks back on his career in the future. What matters to him is getting the most out of the situation. Maximising results when he can't win is something he's become more aware of and more comfortable with this season, having initially harboured hopes of a title challenge. Verstappen has noted that the rare times he's been close to the Mercedes cars on track have been a lot of fun, if not fighting them wheel to wheel, then at least trying to stay with them. He's admitted it gives a different kind of motivation. Unfortunately, to use Verstappen's own words, he's normally in no man's land, drifting away from the Mercedes drivers a few tenths a lap, while easing clear of the cars behind. Which is why even with his more mature, relaxed outlook amid a failed title dream, he confessed to feeling a little out of place towards the end of the year. And that brings us to where we started, which is Verstappen's comments in Turkey, where he said it's nice to be on the podium, but at the end of the day it feels like third wheeling if you go out for dinner. It's not really lovely, I prefer to be the one having a nice romantic dinner instead of the third wheel. Mercedes would probably have had a better time this year without Verstappen being that lingering irritant, but we'd almost certainly have sat through a more boring season and should be grateful for Verstappen's podium appearances, however jokingly awkward they might have been. Give this video a like if you enjoyed our look into Verstappen's season, let us know in the comments below how you rate his campaign, and also if you can think of any other examples of hangers-on like him from past years. Who knows, maybe we'll be able to turn those suggestions into a fun video about the best third wheels in F1 history, so make sure you're subscribed to the race and have notifications turned on to find out.